Hello everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today we're going to use 2 blocks for our practice and also a blanket, and that's what I have sitting underneath of me here. And we'll begin just right away to just finding our blanket underneath of our sits bones, and we'll come to sitting up nice and tall. So I have hands just resting at the tops of my thighs. And just to begin, we'll just start to close our eyes and just start to check in with our breath. And so depending on what time of the day you're finding time for this practice, maybe this is the first time you've really noticed your breath today. And we take a second before we begin just to notice how our breath feels. Does it feel smooth and even? Or does it feel kind of short or forced? And just remember not to have judgment, just being aware, just like when we check into our body. So do you feel tension anywhere in your body? So I always tend to feel tension in my eyebrows, in my hands or neck, or even into my knees in this seated position. It takes me a while to feel relaxed in a seated position. But just by sitting here for a moment and just kind of settling into my pose, I notice how much more comfortable it becomes. And just continuing to follow your breath in and out. And taking a moment to thank yourself. You did it. You made it here today. And sometimes that's the hardest part. It's not the yoga practice itself. It's making time for it. So thank yourself for taking this time for you. Slowly start to open our eyes if they were closed with a soft gaze. And we'll start first, just find a little bit of movement. And sometimes the very first movement I like the most is just a simple forward fold. And you can either walk your fingertips straight out to the side, or you can walk your fingertips straight forward. And you can just kind of take a second, pause when you start to feel a good stretch, and then maybe go a little bit further, but don't feel you have to go very far. Just find where you feel like you're getting just a little bit of stretch. And you find a place where you can relax. So maybe you find a good spot and you want to come down to forearms. If you have chosen going with arms out to the sides, maybe you find a place where you feel like your arms are setting at the tops of your thighs. And if you're still up here, you're still a little higher, just kind of plant the hands. Just kind of enjoy this little simple forward fold. And then we'll start to walk our hands toward us, nice and slow. And we'll take our feet, let's lengthen them long just a moment, because we're going to bend our knees in just a moment. So we want to make sure that we feel like we can do that. So sometimes just lengthening our legs long between poses sometimes helps. And if you ever feel like you need to pause and practice this, all I'm doing is just pointing into my toes and then flexing into my heels. And you can also windshield wiper the feet from side to side if that feels better for you. And we'll then start to take, and I'll start first with my right heel, bringing my right heel in towards my right hip. So it doesn't have to quite touch, but it can be, mine's about 3 inches away right now. And then we'll take the left heel in towards the inner thigh. And we just find ourselves kind of settling in here. So if you notice, so usually I'll be facing straight forward, but now kind of my center is going to be shifted a little bit more from over here to this side, to my left. So we'll find just kind of making sure that we feel settled in. So here's our new normal for a minute. I'm still on the edge of my blanket, and that still works for you and you feel good there. I recommend that. If you want to abandon the blanket though, always okay. And we just kind of check in here. And if you feel good here, you would like a little bit of movement, we'll extend fingertips up overhead. And then we'll slowly lengthen over towards the left side. So we just find some side to side movements. You're going to get a lot of space over here to this side. But as we make our way up, we're going to do the same thing. We inhale up, we'll exhale, find a spot to bring your hand. It can be behind your foot if you'd like. And we'll just lengthen over towards the right side. And we'll do this twice. So we'll inhale, we'll lengthen up. Exhale, we'll shift over, left side. And this inhale, we lengthen up. Exhale, right side. And if for some reason this position isn't working for you, you can always come to a seated position. You can kind of do the same things that we're doing. We'll slowly bring our arms back down. And then we'll find some twist. So we'll first start, so remember we started here, so this is kind of my new center here, and we'll slowly start to continue. So we're just gonna start to shift over towards the left side. You're gonna use this right foot a little bit for leverage. So we just slowly turn and look over our left shoulder. So this right hand can go to the top of the thigh. I don't mind at all for you, but just don't feel like you have to press into your twist. We're just going to take it easy for the first one. And just a couple of breaths here. We'll slowly start to make our way forward. Our head and neck comes around last. We're going to find, so remember this is our starting point, so we're not going to have as much motion over to the right side, but we're going to do the same twist, go the opposite direction. So we'll slowly look over right shoulder. So we totally need some hands for support, so take your right hand behind you. Fingertips tented is helpful, and just look over right shoulder. We'll slowly start to inch our way forward. Head and neck comes around last. Then we're going to find a little bit more kind of like the side-to-side gaits that we just did, but we're going to think about this right leg as kind of being our point of reference here. So this is where we're going to kind of take our length from, is here all the way into the ankle and into the foot. So we're going to kind of think about that being kind of our leverage, is this leg. And then your right hand is going to come back behind you. So this one's going to be kind of like you're drawing it right out from that left hip. And you can adjust this hand as needed. And we'll do this a few times so you'll get to kind of adjust it as we go. And the first time we're just going to take right fingertips and kind of like we're kind of trying to draw the center point of our knee here. And we're just going to lengthen and reach up. So we just kind of stay in that same plane, and we'll exhale and we'll shift back down. We'll do this a couple of times. So we inhale. I kind of bend into my opposite elbow here, just to kind of create some space. And we exhale down. Let's do it one more time that way, just to kind of get feeling like we're in a good position. Sometimes it takes me 3 times to really enjoy it. And then this time, as we shift up, so we're going to kind of repeat the same thing, but this time we're going to lift into our knees, lift into this right hip, lengthen up, and we'll exhale back down. So you may, did you hear that? I popped. And you may hear, you may lift up here off of your blanket a little bit, and that's okay because we're going to lift up again. So same thing here. So we take this right hand right in kind of that direction of that knee, and then we inhale and we lift up. Really getting length here. Exhale and we shift back down. We'll do it one more time, and we'll hold this one on the inhale, and then we'll stay here. So you don't have to go nearly as far. You can just kind of, I kind of go at about, say, 85%, not my longest, because I'm going to hold this for a moment. So we really find length here. It feels so good. And we'll find on our exhale, we'll make our way back down. Nice and easy. So one more thing before we finish off, and this one you can kind of go at your pace. So this time we're going to take our torso and we're going to shift ourselves behind us. And you don't have to go very far. So you can go pretty far if you'd like. We're just going to walk the fingertips out to the back here. So it's kind of right where our left hand was just a few moments ago. And you can even kind of come down to forearms here. Just a little kind of really strange but really comfortable, fun twist here. And your spot may be more over here, and that's okay too. You might really start to really experience a nice stretch here at the top of the leg, and that's kind of what we're looking for. It's not always, we don't have a lot of options with stretching the top of our leg, so I always want to take advantage when we can. We'll slowly just kind of inch our hands back, and we'll make our way all the way forward. So let's kind of shift up. We'll lengthen our legs long again. I'm going to get back on my blanket, and we'll just kind of stretch the toes and then flex into the heels. So we'll just do that back and forth again. And then if you'd like, maybe some windshield wipering side to side, just to kind of, or you can even bounce the knees if you like that better. Then we'll kind of shift into that opposite side. So if this is your troublesome side, remember you can always do this from just a regular seated position. So left heel comes in, so it's going to be kind of beside our hip, but mine's about 3 inches away. And if yours is right next to you, that's okay. And then from here, we'll shift the right foot in too. So we have now, so I'm going to kind of adjust myself so I'm on my blanket. And then now my new kind of center point is over here a little bit more, because this is kind of where my hips are facing. It's a little bit more over to the side. And I just kind of check in here. So always give yourself just a moment to make sure that this is where you want to be. And we'll lengthen our arms up overhead. And we'll exhale, we'll reach over towards the right side. Find length this direction here. And then we'll inhale, we'll reach up. We'll exhale, left side. We'll inhale, we'll reach up. We'll do each side one more time. So we'll exhale, right side, get long. Inhale, we make our way up. So I kind of pushed up with my hand to get me up. Exhale, left side one more time. And slowly we start to make our way up. You can let top arm come down. So remember, here we are. So this is where I'm facing now. So whenever I start to, this will be my starting point, and then I'll start to look over my right shoulder. Remember this hand, top of the thigh, just to rest here. It doesn't need to press into your twist. This is our first one of the day, so we're just going to enjoy it. My tinted fingers of my back hand. And we'll slowly start to inch our way forward. And then we'll start to shift over towards the left side. So same things here, but you're going to have a lot less mobility here this side. Tinted fingers looking over left shoulder. And we'll slowly start to come forward. Head and neck comes around last. And so remember, so here's our kind of our center here, our reference point. And so we want to think about where this right hip is. This right hand's going to come down behind us. Then our left hand is going to kind of almost like we're kind of pointing at our knee. And this is where we're going to draw length from. So we're going to draw length all from this leg. So you can even start to kind of ground into it if you'd like. So from the toes all the way into the knee. And this one just kind of helps a little, and you'll figure out, you'll be able to shift it as needed. So we'll just start though first with the lengthening. So on the inhale, we just lengthen up. Exhale, we make our way down. We'll do that a couple times. So we inhale, we lengthen up. Exhale, we make our way down. I'll do this one more time. So we inhale. I kind of bend again into my back elbow here. Can kind of get a little bit longer that last time. And now this time, whenever we lengthen up, we'll start to really bring our weight into our knees and legs. So we inhale, we lift our hips. And this first one, just kind of keep it easy, simple, and we'll exhale, we'll make our way down. I'm gonna adjust my right hand. I'm gonna bring it in just a little bit because I need a little bit more stability. And I'm gonna kind of turn my hand in just a little bit. And that's just gonna help me feel a little bit more stable with my shoulder and wrist. And we're gonna repeat that 2 more times. So when you're ready, on the inhale, we lift up. Hope you could hear that, but I popped again. Exhale, we make our way down. And then we'll inhale, we'll lift up. Exhale, we make our way down. And this last one will stay up for a pause. So I'm gonna adjust. feel like I'm shifting a little bit forward, so I'm gonna adjust my hand a little. And the last time we'll stay here. So remember, I kind of went more about like 85% for this one, because there's a lot more work in here. It's not just the stretching, it's also the strengthening at the same time. So kind of be strong into feet and legs. We'll slowly make our way down. Be strong as you shift down though. And then from here, so remember, here's our reference point. I'm kind of off my blanket, so if you want to take a second just to get back on your blanket, that's a good option here too. So here we are. But now we're going to take that little kind of forward fold, but it's going to be kind of like a twist. So we'll slowly find ourselves shifting over towards the side here. And you can come down to forearms. If you kind of want to shift a little bit further, you can. You should kind of really feel some stretch here. You can kind of ground down just a little bit, but it doesn't need to take much. And remember, if you're kind of more over here, this is good too. I mean, you're getting length as well here. Slowly start to inch our hands back towards us. And then let's make our way to lengthening our legs again. So you might need to help this one out. Needs a little help. And then we'll just kind of point the toes and flex the heels. Maybe even the windshield wipering your feet side to side if you need to bounce the knees a little bit. And then we'll bring our feet flat, knees bent, and let's just take our feet over to whichever side and make our way to a table. And from your table, so let's take our blanket. And again, I just use a little beach towel here. So I just like to use, so I have lots of cushion underneath of my knees. And then let's take our blocks and have our blocks handy. So I have my blocks up here towards the top of my mat. I would have yours about right here. I'm just gonna push this one forward just so that you can see me well. And I'm gonna shift my blanket just a little bit further back. I have plenty of space for my feet here though. And from here, let's find our wrists and shoulders nice and lined up. We'll find some cat-cow movements. So we take a moment here, find our good setup, wrists under shoulders, knees right out of hips, and we'll slowly just start to shine the light in the center of our chest forward. And on our exhale, we'll slowly draw our chest towards our hips. This inhale, we slowly shift forward. We shine the light in the center of our chest forward. Exhale, we start to draw our chest towards our hips. You can tuck the chin if you'd like. And we just continue. So this inhale, we shift forward. Exhale, we start to shift back. You can really round into the spine here as much as you'd like. And again, you can tuck the chin as much as you'd like as well. And you can just kind of stay more neutral with head and neck here as well. And so just continuing. And I always encourage you just to find what feels good. So if you find you just need to pause in one of these positions for a breath or two, that's okay. Just find what feels good. And we'll finish this one that we're working on, so nice and slow. make our way back to our table. So a couple options here. So we can come down to simple child's pose. Forehead comes down to your mat. We could also go to puppy pose. So it's kind of taking the hands about 2.5, almost 3 steps forward, and then bringing our forehead down to our mat. Or if you need a little bit more of a challenge, we'll step the hands about a full length forward. So kind of taking the hands just a complete step forward. Curl the toes under, then lift up so that we find ourselves into a high plank. Wrists right over the shoulders right over the wrists. Belly's real strong. We kind of find this doming in the back here. And on our exhale, downward facing dog. In this inhale, we make our way back to table. Exhale, your puppy. So I'm just settling here. That way I don't have to move my hands. And we're going to do this a couple of times. In this inhale, your table, we shift back forward. So wrist and shoulders nice and lined up, curl toes under, lengthen your plank so nice and strong across the backs of the shoulders, really pressing into your mat with all the fingers, all of the hands. Exhale, downward dog. So sinking into the heels. In this inhale, your table once more, your exhale, your child's pose or your puppy, either one. Here's more of a kind of an in-between puppy child's pose. Let's do that one more time. So we shift ourselves back forward, we curl our toes under, we lengthen to our plank. We exhale, downward facing dog. In this inhale, our table, and then exhale, your child's pose or your puppy. And this one is kind of an in-between, and this one's perfect, just as long as your forehead is resting down. And we have a nice straight spine. So when I go to this variation, which is kind of right in between a puppy and a child's pose, or sometimes this is our child's pose, if our hips need some more flexibility, we can't quite get them down to our heels, then we can come right here with forehead down and just make sure, draw the navel in towards the spine. That just ensures our back is nice and straight. In this inhale, your table. And so find your blocks. So we're going to start, so kind of shift your way so that you find to start with just your table pose. And find from here, from your table, so just kind of checking in here. And then find your blocks. So you're going to need your blocks on either side of your hands. So kind of how I think of it is I have one block just on the outside of each of my hands. So that when I bring my hands up to my blocks and I step my right foot forward, my toes are going to come further forward than my blocks. And you can adjust as you see fit here, and you might need to adjust quite a bit. And then we'll kind of find from here, just kind of checking in here. So I like to start always with sinking forward into the front knee here and kind of just notice how you feel here. So we're kind of taking this action of drawing this leg away from this one. So you can kind of take your weight into the back knee to kind of draw that one back as we kind of shift this one forward. So it's kind of it's kind of like a little splits, but it's much easier. And we have our hands. You might notice me always having knuckles to the tops of my blocks. Hands on your blocks is always okay, especially if you need more balance. But I always come to knuckles. I think I just need like a half an inch more on the top of my blocks because I think I'm a little taller. And then from here, just kind of find, when you're ready, we'll start to find, we'll exhale, And we'll start to straighten into our front leg. And you can take your block in your left hand back with you if that helps you. And then we'll slowly shift our way forward. So I'm going to kind of bring my hands down now. I think I'm kind of getting a little bit more open, so maybe that's what it is. It's tightness in my hips that's keeping me from holding my blocks. And on your exhale, we just shift back again. So you kind of notice that my head and neck is just kind of neutral to start, and that's good. I just want to start by keeping my motions kind of simple to begin, because we're going to stretch further and further as we keep going. Exhale, we make our way back. We inhale, we shift back forward. And this exhale, we shift back. So we just kind of keep going. So we inhale and we come forward. We exhale and we come back. So I just keep moving this block back with me each time. And we just keep going. And so as you start to shift forward and back, you kind of notice you're getting more open. So I'm starting to bring my block a little further back. And when I come forward, you can start to kind of shift your shoulders down and bring your gaze settle in front of you. So maybe you're looking at the wall now. Then the exhale, we come down. Maybe you round a little bit here. Maybe you ground into the toes a little more. And you can just kind of make this your own. So we come up, and maybe this time when we come up, we look at a spot about half a foot higher when we go up. And then when we shift back, maybe we get a little bit more into it. So we just kind of shift. So these poses just kind of feel really good. And we listen. So if you're starting to feel like, yeah, I'm done, this is good, that's okay, always. So now I'm kind of opening up a little bit more. I can really feel how that's helping me here. And I'm going to kind of shift my blanket a little bit so I can bring my block back a little bit more, and I can really shift into my toes. So you kind of notice I hang out sometimes instead of just moving right into my next breath, and that's okay. But now I can come up a little bit more. So I'm starting to really open my heart up towards the ceiling a little bit. And then I shift back. So we're kind of nearing the end here. So we're going to keep going though. So we continue to shift. And we'll kind of do just one, maybe two more, depending on how far in you are to this one. And you don't have to exaggerate these movements as much as I am. Sometimes I do them a little bit more gently than other days. So we just kind of notice what we need. So this will be my last one. So whenever I make my way back forward, I'm going to find, so I have my hands back here to where I was with my blocks. And I'm going to start to check in. So I want my front knee and ankle to be nice and lined up, even if that means kind of adjusting where your foot is just a little bit. And then I'm going to make my way, kind of draw belly muscles in. I'm going to start here where I start to bring my arms up. So I like using cactus arms here, but you can always just extend them up overhead if you prefer it. But this one's a little bit more active here in the arms and shoulders. So we try to find our way here. And if you'd like, so you can kind of see I'm opening my heart because I'm kind of really into that move already. But then let's find our way, let's sink into the front knee just a little bit. And if this kind of troubles you with balance, feel free to bring your hand down at any time, and you can always bring them down if you prefer that as well. And then it will come up nice and active here, and we'll just extend up to find length this time. So I'm going to lengthen fingertips up towards the ceiling. And just kind of get real strong here. Then let's make our way back down to hands to the top of our thigh, then hands to our blocks. We'll curl the back toe under. So we're going to turn this into a little active pose where we start to get real strong into our arms. So we're going to bring those cactus arms here. So active into our feet and legs. Belly strong. We're going to make our way up and kind of take it slow. Don't go too fast because you're going to get a really deep stretch. and the back of your top thigh. So start to really take a second to really kind of straighten up to your full pose. And once you get there, just pause here and be strong. We'll slowly start to make our way down, but we're going to stay strong the whole way down. So we take ourselves down nice and slow. And stay strong into the legs as you lower hands down. And then from here, take your right foot back. I'm going to take my blocks just to the side, just so that they're out of my way. And I'm moving mine just a little bit more so that you can see me well. And then we find our way to our table. But then let's walk our fingertips forward into a puppy. So kind of walk your fingertips forward until you can get your forehead to your mat. And just kind of notice here just how the right side of your body feels in comparison to your left side. You did that. It feels like that if I were to look at my fingertips, which don't because it might be too much on your head and neck, that my right fingertips feel like they're reaching further forward than my left. But when I set them down, they were right even. So we'll start to make our way back up. So we'll start first by just taking our elbows in little bits at a time. And then we make our way back up. So take your blocks back here again. So remember, we started from a table. So we want to kind of start with our blocks close to our hands. And I kind of adjusted it, but that's just me. And then we'll shift our hands to our blocks. And we'll step the left foot forward this time. So toes pointed a little further forward than our blocks. I kind of shifted my blanket a little bit on the other side. So I'm just going to curl or kind of fold this little corner in so that I have space for my block here in a little bit. So remember, so you know what's expected. So you know what you're expecting in this pose. So just don't feel like you need to take it any faster than you did on the other side. As a matter of fact, this side is going to feel a lot different because you've already opened up the opposite side. So we want to make sure that we kind of take it a little slow. So same thing here. So we first start sinking into the front knee and just kind of find what feels good. So we took a second for this one. I'm going to make a little adjustment. I'm going to inch my blocks a little further forward. I'm going to inch my toes a little further forward. And just kind of find what feels good. So remember, we're kind of taking that action of drawing this front leg away from the back leg. So it's kind of a little splits. And you can kind of take the weight into the back knee a little bit, and that's going to encourage that a little bit more. And a little movement is always okay, but that's only if it's comfortable for you. I need movements. You'll hear me talk about my hips a lot. My hips are always kind of struggling. I have struggled since I had children, so I just keep trying. So from here, let's just we'll find that movement. So when you're ready, we'll just start by simple. We'll straighten into the front leg. So I take my block in my right hand with me, and I'm still a little bit on knuckles. I'm still opening up into hips. So whenever I shift forward, I bring my block with me. And then whenever you're ready on your exhale, we shift back. So again, just kind of take your time. So I'm still kind of staying with more of a straight back just to begin. I step my block forward. I shift forward. I exhale, I shift back. And take this block with you. Even adjust this one if you need to. And I think I'm getting to where I can shift a little bit and more with hands to the tops of my blocks now that I'm a little bit more opened. And I just continue. So now I'm starting to get there. So I'm starting to feel like I can start to add a little bit of something. So I can start to round a little bit when I shift back and maybe ground into my front toes a little bit more. And then whenever I shift forward, maybe I'm starting to look kind of up here about a foot in front of my mat. And this kind of show your heart that direction too. So kind of look with your body a little bit. And then we kind of shift a little bit more forward. So now I'm kind of looking about a foot's distance more in front of me. And then I exhale back. And then I just keep going. So you kind of notice now things are starting to feel kind of how they did on the other side. When you open up one side first and then go to the other, it's a little bit dramatic. So you can kind of take your time with that because we have nothing but time. And we just continue back and forth. And I'm looking more forward now. And then just about maybe a foot, foot and a half more up the wall. And then I just keep going. So now I can kind of almost bow a little bit here. And I get a real deep stretch all the back of my leg. And just keep going. And now I can look a little bit more forward. Just shine your heart forward. Kind of draw the shoulders down when you come up. And we just keep going here. I just lost my balance that time. So let's kind of do one or two more. If you want to spend a little bit of time in the pose, that's always okay. I'm kind of spending a little bit more time upright because it takes me so long to get there. But just remember, you don't have to strain. Some of us, whenever, if you're kind of more, I don't know, age 65 or more, it's not recommended to shift your neck along your back. So kind of keep yourself a little bit more upright in that circumstance. I know some of the ladies in my classes who have osteopenia, they say they've advised by doctors not to do that. So just focus on keeping the heart open if that's you. And we just lengthen up here. So the head and neck doesn't necessarily fold or shift back that way. We just kind of keep length here instead. And you still get the same benefit of the pose. And then we'll kind of make our way back to kind of where we started. So make a little adjustments if needed. And then we'll start to find our way to finding ourselves nice and strong. So I start to come up. I'm going to bring my hands up here to the top of my thigh. And you can kind of sink into the front knee a little bit here. Make this your pose. Or you can just stay the upright because we're going to do that one in a moment anyway. If you choose this one, be sure you're strong into your feet and legs because you need to balance that extra strength for this balance. And you can always bring blocks down if you choose. And then let's make our way from our hands here to our blocks to bringing them up tall. And we'll slowly make our way up to our upright position. And you can lengthen arms long if you prefer that too. So either way, both of these are fine here. Just finding what you like. So this one, we're not opening our hearts up towards the ceiling anymore. We're just kind of facing forward. Kind of like a regular warrior pose. And then I'm going to bring my arms back down so I'm nice and strong. And we'll slowly shift our way down. So just nice and strong. And you can come down real slow here. And kind of stay super strong, and then eventually hands come down. Then curl your back toes under. So remember on the other side, we took our time with this one. So make sure you take your time here. So real strong into our feet and legs, belly strong. We slowly make our way. So I'm going to start with arms. And then slowly come up, but don't feel like you have to come all the way upright yet. Just kind of feel that out as far as your back leg goes. And if you need to uncurl your toes, you're always welcome to. And we just kind of eventually kind of straighten best we can. This nice deep stretch in the back leg, kind of right at the top of the thigh. Maybe curling the corners of your mouth, especially if this is a big stretch. And then we'll start to make our way down. So come down slow. We're going to stay real strong all the way down. So strong into the front foot. We're going to make this an exercise right here as we make our way down, slow and strong. All the way. Hands back down to your blocks. Uncurl your toe. Front foot steps back. Then I'm going to shift my blocks off of my mat again. But you don't have to move them as far off as I'm going. Then we can walk our hands real far as we can reach forward, forehead down. And rest here. And really notice here, so how even your body feels. If you need to take your hips a little bit and shift them, sway them gently side to side, that's going to feel good sometimes. So if you need to I needed to shift my elbows in just a little bit for some stability and balance, and so I didn't fall over. So now I'm going to go back to stillness. I'm going to bring my elbows back out a little bit so it's a little bit more open into my shoulders. Just pause here, a couple more breaths. And we'll slowly start to shift our elbows a little bit more in. Shift your elbows towards you. And eventually you'll make your way up to your table. And from your table, let's find our way to, let's do one more downward facing dog if you'd like. If you'd rather go back to our child's pose or puppy, that's okay here. I'm going to go ahead though and shift my blanket off of my mat. So I'm going to fold it so it's ready for me because you might need it. Go ahead and shift your blanket ready for you. And I'm going to have my blocks on either side, so those are ready as well. So I'm just going to walk my fingertips forward to the top of my mat, and then I'll bring my wrists and shoulders nice and lined up, curling my toes under, so finding my way to my nice strong plank pose, so strong and sturdy in hands, arms, and shoulders and bellies. Then exhale, downward facing dog. Slowly make your way down to your hands and knees, and we'll find a child's pose or a puppy. I'm going to go to full child's pose. I deserve it. This inhale, we'll make our way up to our table, and then let's make our way onto our back. So remember, I have my blanket handy. I have a block on either side just in case I need them. And I make my way down. So shift so that you're using the full length of your mat and make your way onto your back. And once you're here, bend one knee at a time and then draw them in towards your chest. Maybe moving a little bit from side to side, just kind of finding what feels good here. Kind of massaging the low back. And sometimes stillness is nice, just to kind of draw the knees in towards your chest if that feels good instead. And then we'll start to find our way to kind of relaxing our grip on the knees, and you can still hold them there, but then bring your arms into a T position. So I kind of have my block in the way here, but I'm just going to shift it just out of the way. And then arms into a T position, lengthened, and we're going to start to get strong into our belly. And I kind of press my arms down just a little bit, just that I'm using my whole body for support to make my way to shifting my knees over towards the left side. and a little twist here. So you can use your blanket for support underneath of your knees. Sometimes under the, between the knees is nice. Sometimes a block between the knees is helpful here. And you just find what feels good here. And your gaze, when you find a good position, your gaze goes over towards your right side. This is a letting go pose. So make yourself completely supported so that you can completely relax. So your support might be the floor, but if it needs to be a prop or even a little more props, that's always okay. We'll slowly start to inch our gaze back up towards the ceiling. So head and neck still relaxed to your mat. And then kind of press your arms back into the floor. Draw your belly muscles in to lift your knees. And then we'll start to shift the knees over towards the right side. So you might need to shift your props just out of your way. Anything you need to do here. And arms in that T position. Gaze over towards your left side when you're ready. And again, just really allowing yourself to be completely supported so that you can be completely relaxed here. This is kind of moving into our final relaxation. So we're already starting to get really relaxed here. We'll slowly start to shift our gaze back up towards the ceiling. So head and neck stays to our mat. Draw your belly in. Arms a little strong, so I'm kind of pressing my arms down into my mat. Lift your knees and draw your knees in towards your chest. And then release the knees. Let your feet come flat to the floor. And then we'll start to bring our arms just down to our sides. So my thumbs are just beneath my buttocks. And then I'm going to start to really roll my shoulders down, really get strong into hands, arms, and shoulders, strong into your feet. And we're going to start to engage into the buttocks. So you're going to start to get strong into your legs. So if you ever heard me talk about this in our warrior poses, where we strengthen into our legs and we kind of draw the legs towards one another, but they're not going to move. We still want to keep our knees at hip width apart, and we're real supported. So strong in hands, arms, and shoulders again, strong even in each of the fingertips, even kind of the ball pad of the hands. And then we slowly engage the buttocks and lift the hips. So real strong here. So strong in hands, arms, shoulders. And lots of breath here. You can come down anytime, but stay strong all the way down. And we'll slowly lower down. So take your time, go slow. That's going to build strength here too. So buttocks stay strong all the way down. That supports the low back. And once you're all the way down, you can draw your knees in towards your chest. And then when you're ready, we'll slowly release our knees, let the feet come flat to the floor. Then we'll let our legs lengthen long. And you can kind of let your feet go a little wider than hip width apart. And you can shift your toes so that they're kind of shifting out to the side. So we're going to kind of shift into our final relaxation here. So palms facing up towards the ceiling. And I want to take a second because I can't see you. So I'm going to go over a couple of little things that you might need to add to your final relaxation. And if you don't need anything, you're just fine right where you are. That's okay. You can just stay here and close your eyes, or maybe you want to just stay here. Maybe this has been a tough practice for you today. Even though it didn't seem like we did a lot, we did a lot. So you can come back to this, or whatever you'd like to do. Just stay here if you need to. Maybe you're just really feeling this is what you need, is just to stay here on your mat. But if you need a little bit of assistance, I'm going to show you. I'm going to come up nice and slow. I'm going to use my hands for support and my elbows to come up. And I'm going to try a couple of things. So the first thing is I'm going to take my blanket and I'm going to make it kind of a little wider. And then I'm going to roll it. And sometimes we take this and we roll it and it goes right underneath of our knees. And so whenever we lie back, it gives us just a little bit of the support underneath of our knees. So some of us need this. Now, some of you, perhaps you've been working at a desk for maybe most of your life. And so this area here around our neck and shoulders doesn't feel comfortable laying flat. So we can do the same kind of thing with our blanket, but this is a little too much. So what we'll do is we're going to need this too, this little flat part. So I'm just going to kind of roll it a couple of times and bring it up here towards the top of my mat. And you're going to have to adjust it. So don't think you're going to get it right and perfect the first time, because you'd have no idea where your head and neck is going to be. And you can kind of roll it. So you can kind of add some more roll here. And this kind of just gives us a little bit of neck support and a little bit of extra cushion underneath of our head. So I'm going to stick with that one. That one feels nice. And we just make our way nice and relaxed. So toes maybe relaxing to our sides here. So we just let the toes fall to the side. And we just let our palms face up towards the ceiling. And let's kind of focus on the places in our bodies where we hold tension. So I always like to start with my hands. I never realized that I held tension in my hands until I started practicing yoga. So we start by just taking our right hand and make a really tight fist. And then release it and just let it fall. Doesn't matter how it lands. Don't even bother with how it lands. Just let it release. And however it lands is perfect. Same thing, left hand. So we make a real tight fist. And then we just let it relax. And then maybe shake the head no a little bit to find that perfect place for your head and neck. And then notice the muscles in your face. Starting with your eyebrows, let them be soft. Let them not show any expression. And then relaxing your eyelids. Let them be soft over your eyes. And let your eyes just fall to the side. And then relax your cheeks. Swallow once. Relax your tongue. Allow your lips to just be soft over your teeth. And then relax your jaw all the way to the space behind your ears. Slowly start to make some small movements. So just start with wiggling your fingers and your toes. And then if you'd like, you can reach your arms long and maybe bring your feet closer together and lengthen out from fingertips all the way to toes. Stretch real big. And then we'll start to bring one knee at a time flat. Bring one foot flat to the floor, bending the knees. And then we'll bring the knees in towards our chest. Kind of notice how our practice has affected us already today. And then we can take our right arm up above our head. And I'm going to roll to the left for you. So take your right arm up above your head and roll over to your right side to elevate your heart. Pause here. And then using hands for support to make your way up to a seated position. And we'll take our blanket, if you would like, and I'm going to fold it in half and fold it in half again, and then sit on again so that we're kind of starting back to where we began. And we just kind of check in here and just kind of notice what's different from whenever we first got here today. And just knowing in your mind and in your heart that you created this change. You did this. So thank your body for the work that it does. But don't forget to thank yourself for taking this time out of your day to honor what your body needs, to nourish your body. And so thank you very much for joining me today. I always enjoy it. And I always need it to. Thank you. And if you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more videos like this one, or you have some kind of thing that you would like to see in the classes that I do with you, you can always make a comment down below just to let me know what you need. And then if you really enjoyed this video today, if you wouldn't mind to like it for me and subscribe if you would like as well. So thank you very much.